Hey guys, another episode of Short Side Wristers. Today we're going to talk a lot of huts. I want to discuss what I think was done well as far as the content this year, what I think is missing, and I want to get your opinion on some ideas and whatnot going forward in Hockey Ultimate Team for the coming years. I'm No Sleeves 12. Let's jump right into it. So, coming from last year, I think the first thing I want to discuss is the market as a whole. If you played NHL 18 as far as Hockey Ultimate Team went, the market crashed a few times. One was specifically when that Bronze World Junior pack came out. You could buy a World Junior pack for like 8K and you'd get a ton of World Junior cards. It was just a stupid way to make your money back basically, and they just kind of broke the market early. And then there was the ice set cards where basically they re-released every single card that was decent. All you had to do was get the base card and a gold collectible, I believe, and it upgraded, for example, like a Stamkos to like an 87 to like a 93. And it really, really did a number on the market because obviously all those base cards are now crap, and then all of the high-end legend cards, specifically the alumni cards, like the ones where you actually had to trade in all the players for a specific team, and you would get, for example, I believe the Sharks was Owen Nolan, so you would trade in every single Sharks card, base card, and you would get, or excluding the very high ones, and you would get Owen Nolan, which was a very cool thing to do. I'm gonna get into that in a little bit, but it basically, once the ice cards came out, it eliminated them from being of any value. They were about 90 overalls, maybe a little bit higher, I believe, and yeah, there was just no point in them. So if you spent all your money or all your coins, all your time working on collecting them and getting them and making them, they were all pretty pointless come December when the ice set came out. Then came the Evos. So last year was the first year of Evos. It's a great idea as a set. There should be a card. It kind of makes you play fantasy hockey. The problem with it last year was that every single player on the planet got an Evo card, and all anyone wanted was the Evo card of that player because there was no point in having any other one you would get. He would be upgraded a ton, and then eventually killing the value of any other card that he had. So that was pretty brutal. You fast forward to this year, they learned a lot. I think that of all the gameplay issues that EA's had with Hut and Versus, I think the one thing they have done is maintain the market in incredibly well considering what happened in the previous year or so. Let's first talk. Let's first talk legends. So the legends that you make. Okay, so you come out this year, you create a legend with a bunch of gold collectibles or carbons, depending on the cards, and and then you would get that card. There's still very valuable ones, like the Brett Hull and the Paul Coffey. Those ones are extremely expensive to make, like 3 mil. The prices come down quite a bit. But the fact that there's no reliance on gold collectibles anymore in this game, the gold collectible price has dropped a ton. So you could make, you could make an ally of Frady, and a bunch of other cards that are 88s when you first start getting the game, to get those collectibles, to get the Gretzky and Mario, which I thought was also a very cool idea to collect those, because it was very difficult. I got Wayne, I think, in October, but it took a pretty big investment to get him, if you know what I mean. And then all of the legends, like there's still legends I made, like Bernie Geoffrion. I love that card. If you've watched my stream, if you followed me on YouTube at all this year, Bernie Geoffrion is kind of like my hallmark calling card this year. He's a great defenseman. His point shot is basically a cheat code, and he's only 91 to make, so you can make him for a bunch of gold collectibles, and he's still usable. Like that's what I'm saying. So like almost the middle of February, and we still have cards that were released day one that are usable, which I think is definitely a good sign. The thing I found interesting is the trying the $100 pack. So when they first came out, everyone lost their minds that, oh my god, you got to pay $100 to get a chance at chance at one of these cards. So the cards that originally came out were Ted Lindsay, the 93 overall, the 92 Adam Oates, the 91 Daryl Sittler, the 94 Solani, and the 93 Leach. Now, if you fast forward to today, if you did those packs, let's say I did one and I bought the other one because the other one was 500K. Thinking back on it, the investment that you would have gotten had you actually done the 500K, like if you didn't get Daryl Sittler, you basically held your value like 4 months later. Solani's going for over $1 million still. Leech about 700K. Oates falls to about 4. Same with Lindsay, and then Sittler's in the 2 to 300 range. At the time, it was kind of a big outcry, but then when you think about it, when they released Legends, the way they did it going forward, basically making it a less than 1% chance to pull it in a pack, there just wasn't any of those cards. I think that there's pros and cons to this. So there's a ton of Solanis and Adam Oates and Ted Lindsay's on the market, obviously, because we're all fiends to spending money, and a ton of us bought those cards because of the advantage they gave us early on in the game, as well as the fact that they're very cool cards. So Solani specifically, and Leech. Now, their values fluctuated. When it first came out, you could get them for 500K, but now, like I said, it doubled for Solani, and for at one point in time, before he was re-released, Leech was very expensive as well. He's a very good defenseman card. His shot is absolutely nuts. But the other $100 ones, they've kind of fallen off. But the ones that you get in packs, so let's just say, for example, Sundin or Forsberg. Let's talk Forsberg. So he hasn't been re-released. All the Legends have been re-released throughout the months here now. And Forsberg, you could not buy in those $100 packs. Okay, he was only in one of the random ones that they came out with in the weekend. There were so few of them that they cost basically the same as Mario and Gretzky, which, when you think about it, is ridiculous. But that's the price you pay for the rarity of them. The fact that Sundin as a card, I've had the Sundin card. Not a big fan at all. Didn't think any of them. Kind of slower. He's obviously a big body, but 1.1 mil. Not a fan. Like, you could get Yari Curry, other cards around the same skill level, and be in a much better shape as far as your team goes. So going forward next year, I'm curious to see what they do with those cards. I actually didn't mind the $100 pack. If you make it any cheaper, you run the risk of everyone buying it, and then you flooded the market where everyone has the same card. If you make it $100 again, you run the risk of people, pay to win, all that kind of stuff. I totally get it. But would you rather pay $100 to get a guaranteed card is going to be on your team for months? Or would you rather pay, $25 for a less than 1% chance to open up a few packs? Like, it's all how you view it, right? And you don't have to buy them, like, buy packs. But, I mean, for the coin investment, like, Potvin, I think, has come down quite a bit. I bought Potvin for about $900K, and he's one of the better defensemen in the game. So these legend cards have been a great improvement over last year, and I hope going into next year we see them come back again. Whether it be the $100 pack, I don't know if they'll ever do that again just because of the PR. But at least the rarity that they have, if you can only pull them in very small packs, I actually kind of like, because when you score with Larry Robinson, that's pretty cool. But yeah, moving on. Another topic I've seen talked about on social media is that they've kind of been careful about the amount of sets they released. Again, I think that they were being so careful as to not ruin the market. A good thing. However, we lost a few sets that were in NHL 18 that I thought were cool. I know Dopey Sod loves his flash forwards and flashbacks, and I'm not going to lie, he is one of the champions in the Discord chat, in the Game Changer chat, to make sure that flashbacks came back. So I don't know how much he had a hand in it, but he was clamoring for that for a few months. And I think the flashback cards are a good idea. There's been a few times where they've picked a few cards. Now, again, most of this content, guys, is done in September or August, where they've pre-planned it. So if you think, like, Philip Forsberg's had kind of a meh year, and he was one of the Master Set player items in Christmas, right? So it's already planned out so far in advance. But the flashback, like, for example, this one, the Subban and the Spezza, we've already had two different Spezza sets. We've had the Evo, the random Evo collectible one, which I think was all right. Everyone gets an Evo card basically, and then we had that Gatorade one at the beginning of the year. It's like, why Spezza? It's not 2000 and like 13 or 12 even. Like, he's not an Ottawa Senator anymore. I just don't really understand that one. So when they pick some of these cards for it, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And then anytime that they release cards that they have already had a better version of, so the Jeremy Roenick flashback, for example, I understand that one because, he was a monthly collectible. Some people didn't get him. Some people love Jeremy Roenick. So you get a chance at his 89. That's fine. Releasing Pronger, I guess, would kind of hold the same thing because, Pronger has that 94 legend, but you've basically kind of cut any reason to go after and get him if you have the legend. Again, he's so rare, so I don't really think that's a big of an issue. But again, those are just re-released cards, you know what I mean? They've already been released. The Jordan 2-2, that's a random one. I kind of like that, to be honest with you. I don't know if I like the cost and the price point, but he's kind of a cool card. It's just having a. So I'm going to talk from, the one percenters, I guess, of Hut. All right, so all of these recent sets outside of the master set item, I have a very good team. One of the best, okay, on PlayStation. And I like that. But when new sets come out, these last few, I haven't really had any cards to go after because they kind of released them lower. So the Tutu and the Subban and the Spezza, I don't really have any reason to. So the guys that have really high-end teams, it's kind of sucks that we don't really have a one high-end card to grind for. But again, I totally understand that because I've invested so much time and money in my team that it makes sense. It's just I wish there was something that we could do over the long term to get them, but the flashbacks definitely need to be in the game. I like the idea of it more. They've done it more regularly lately, but I like the cards like Camilleri, any of those kinds of cards, ones that aren't legends. Basically, if you want an equivalent, it's basically a legend card for an alumni. So the alumni cards are much lower rated as opposed to the legends. And basically flashbacks are just the lower versions of older master set players or guys that are still in the league. I like the Camilleri. That's a cool one. Something I hope they do bring back is the flash forwards. I think that if you have even a decent team, let's say 90 overall and above, there's really no way to use any of the rookies this season or any of the younger guys because there was no set to kind of bring them up. Like I know Pedersen, obviously there was a known thing called the Pedersen problem where early on in the season there was no set or anything that could get him high enough. He was getting prime times and teams of the week every single week, but because of the +2 kind of cap each month, he was stuck. So then Thanksgiving they released an 88 Pedersen, and then the All-Star one was a decent way to do it, and it's not a bad way. I mean, it's kind of a good alternative to it, but there's only a few like Humiro Heiskanen and Pedersen as well got all-star cards, so they're 90 overalls. But there just needs to be a way for younger guys like Lafreniere, like those younger guys that are in the OHL, things like that. It'd be cool to get one that just one or two like master set players, or even just releases of cards that you could use on a very high end or a high end team that are the rookies or younger players. It's just a better way to promote the younger players in the league, especially considering how the league is going. I hope that they bring that back in the future. I do understand the saturation of all these sets and whatnot, but like I said, it would be very cool to at least focus on a few younger players to help bring up their value. Let's talk about the All-Star cards real quick. So when they got announced, one, I thought it was an amazing idea by EA. The way to make the All-Star game interesting. I don't remember the last time I watched the All-Star game so intently than when you've got a few cards on the line for the upgrades that they did. So for the All-Star game, they won a skills competition, the skills involved in that, they got boosted to 99. So John Carlson got the 99 slapshot power and accuracy because he won the skills competition. And that was just a sick idea in my opinion. And then if they scored a goal in the All-Star game, they got +1 to everything. And I really thought that this could potentially ruin it. Like if a player would have gotten 6 or 7 goals, like that I mean that's a ton. But I mean it's 3-on-3, so it's not completely out of the ordinary. You're gonna have a card that could potentially break the market if it was a high-scoring game, and a lot of people scored, or a few people scored a few times. But we ended up with just Landeskog and Rantanen being 93s, as well as Sidney Crosby for getting MVP. And none of the cards were really that game breaking. I mean, I use Rantanen right now, but just as my third pairing right defenseman. So they were a very, very good idea. They played it safe with them, which I thought they actually didn't, and good on them. I didn't do my homework enough, I guess, on the All-Star game itself. But that was a very, very cool way to do it. And I wish that they had some more things where you could essentially bet on a player, because that was one of the more exciting moments in the market this year. Let's talk Evos real quick. So when they came out, they released a few Evos, Tavares, and then they released a little bit more like Brent Burns and a bunch of other people, and then that was supposed to be it. Again, being super careful not to break the market like last year. So only a few cards had them, like Taylor Hall had one, Kuznetsov had one. But because of the +2 cap this year, so basically what happens, guys, every month, if a player gets a Team of the Week, Primetime, or a Milestone, they get a +2 card. So Ovechkin, for example, he was a 94. And this month he got a Milestone, and he got a 96 card. Now, if he gets a Team of the Week or Primetime again, can't get anything else. Okay, he's stuck at 96. He'll get one of those cards, but he'll just be a 96 again. because of that, Evo's been kind of capped. I mean, at the time, Subban was an 85, Taylor Hall was an 85, and so when you had those cards, it was going to be a long time before they were anything. All the other sets that if they released a master set item or a flashback or any sort of monthly legend of that card, Taylor Hall, for example, he didn't get the boost and he wasn't going to. So Evos were very long time investment. I mean, even still, you can get an Evo for pretty cheap right now because you have to wait until March to get the Team of the Year stuff, where you're guaranteed a 99 for some of these cards. Not all, but some of them, like Pasternak, for example. So, I mean, they did a much better job this year. I didn't like how last year everyone had an Evo, and even this year when they did the Evo 2 sets, there was kind of too many. I didn't like them. I'm not a big fan of everyone having an Evo, but I do like a small batch of them, which I think they did pretty well. They stopped it from getting out of control, which is what they needed to do. Let's talk about what I think they can expand on going into next year. So, like I said, the Flash Forward set, I think that's a very cool idea. It doesn't need to be a lot of them. It doesn't need to be one a week. It just needs to be one a month, maybe. And find a way to incorporate that. Now, the challenges, again, we've discussed this quite a bit, and I know I brought it up. If there's a way to make the challenges moments like we had a couple years ago, where basically it's like you're down by 3, Goudreau scores a hat trick to tie the game and win it in overtime. Now you got to go do that. That would make challenges amazing, but I just don't know if it's in the realm of possibility because it would take a big investment of time and resources to make that for make as many challenges as there were. I think at launch there was like 100, maybe more, well, way more than that. I think there might have been 150, and it is way too much of that. Now the problem is that outside of the first month of the game, it's really tough to grind those offline challenges. There just isn't a lot of them. And I think that the way they did it with the All-Star ones, where you had to score like a crazy amount, like in one, that was cool. I think they did a good job with that. It's just I wish there was more creativity with them, so that the offline, there's a reason to go on offline and really do it. Like if there's only a collectible on the line, I don't care, which sucks, cause but I just don't care. I'd rather just play a game. So I wish there was just better, more of a draw to offline challenges. I think that Draft Champions needs a reward of some kind. Like, I would love to see the numbers, but just I feel it's a wasted mode with a lot of potential. I mean, 2 years ago, I think in NHL 17, we got that Willie Mitchell and Manny Malhotra and Ray Emery cards that were actually sick. And people were grinding draft champions like nuts to try and get those cards. I think that's what we need. We need something where if we go in, we can grind, we get a really good card. And don't make it easy, but at least do something. Because I do think it is a very cool game mode to try to go out and try and do. Lastly, I would love a way to make silver. The thing I don't like, and the thing I'm going to try and do the most as a game changer, is help remove the things that are in the game that have potential, but are pointless. So, bronze and silver players, okay? You can't use them. I mean, I don't even know if you open up a starter pack if you're ever going to use one of those cards outside of doing a challenge where you want to actually, use bronze or silver cards. I would love it if there was master set sets for completing a whole team. So say you collect all of the Niagara Ice Dogs, okay? If you collect all of the Niagara Ice Dogs, you get an 85 or an 86 overall Alex Pietrangelo. Like, that is what I would love to see. Same with all of the silver cards. Again, I think it might be a big investment because you'd have to have one for every team. But that would at least give these cards value other than, they're just Sakic fodder. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would love something where you could go in and you get all these silver cards in a pack and you're like, where you might pull the one guy that you needed. And, then you've now been able to actually make a set player item. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy, so the end game, but at least early on, absolutely, because everyone's ripping packs the first month of the season. It's when there's a ton of players on the market. I would 100% love to see that. It's one of the things that, I'm going to suggest in the summer. But, again, I just don't know if the resources are there to make something like that happen. But I think it'd be a cool idea. I don't like the NHL one. I mean, if you're going to do the NHL one where at least the base cards are used for something, I think you run the risk of no one's going to have Sakic, which might not be a bad thing. But to get Sakic on top of collecting an entire team of gold rares and things like that, that's tough. But I did like how you collected a whole team, you got something. Or maybe the jersey. I mean, if that's how you got the Sharks stealth jersey, was collecting all the Sharks, like that would be sick. And I hope that they do bring something back again. So, guys, sorry that was a longer one, but it was just a big discussion on Hut currently and some ideas I had for it. So let me know what you guys think again. I'd love the comments in the last video about the what's your go-to goal. I've been skimming through those. I'm gonna start replying to them today. But again, guys, thank you for listening. I'm No Sleeves 12. You have a great day.